much for hopping on with me. Robert Ortiz, a wholesaler. He's out of Florida, and super excited to have him on the show today. He is, he's in the same mastermind as I am, Apex, and we've been connected for a little while now. But man, thank you so much for coming on.
1,000%, man. Excited to be here. Excited to give some value, man. Just been an amazing journey, man.
So yeah, so for people who don't know, do you want to share a little bit more about yourself and how you got started and your backstory?
1,000%, man. My name is Robert. I live in South Florida, sunny South Florida, man. Amazing place to be. And I got into wholesaling actually 2 years ago, this week. So I first heard about wholesaling in 2017, 18. So I could have had a big jump on what I'm doing right now. But when I found out about it, I'm like, this thing is a complete scam. And this was, I think, 2017. And one of my good friends was like, "No, man, it's something good and lucrative to get into." And I'm like, "I don't think anybody's gonna sell me their property at a discount, so we can go flip it to investors." Just real limited mindset. And I ended up going to an event in Orlando, Florida, and they started speaking about wholesaling. I'm like, "Man, I remember this thing. Let me see what's going on with it." And the guy who was talking on stage, he invited another guy to talk on stage, and his name was Javier. And he's like, "Yeah, Javier has the red Lamborghini outside, and he got it off of wholesaling." I'm like, "What? Let me check this thing out." So after we got off the event, or after he got off stage, I ended up talking to him like, "Man, what's up with this wholesaling thing?" He said, "Man, here's my number. Give me a call tomorrow. I'll tell you a little bit about it." He's like, "Man," next day I called him. I had sent him a little video. "Thank you for all the value you gave me, whatever, whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, man, $5,000. I'll teach you how to wholesale." And I'm like, 5,000. I'm like, you know what? Let's do it, man. 5,000. 2 or 3 weeks later, I got my first deal. It was a land deal, an MLS deal, and seller wanted 30,000. I talked them all the way down to 12.5, and got it under contract. Flipped that bad boy, I think, to 20,000 to an investor, and man, just been rocking with it ever since.
That's badass, man. I love that story. So what were you doing before that?
So before this, I was doing sales with Google.
Hmm.
As a third party person, I would go to their Best Buys, the Verizons, and I pretty much was just responsible for all their marketing and training the people. It was pretty cool. Liked it, loved it. And COVID sent us home, and
Hmm.
I was home for a while. Ordered like 100 books, started reading all the books, and then I was just like, man, I got to go full throttle on this entrepreneur stuff, man.
Yeah, and that's badass, man. It's crazy how many people are forced to be entrepreneurs, but I mean, it's like so crazy how many people adapted and were able to come out the other side so much better, man. So man, I love that. So that's great, man. So what was it like, man? You got that you weren't sure, you kind of got into it. You paid the dude 5 Gs. I'm sure was probably a lot at that time. What was it like getting that first deal?
So man, it was amazing. So the process that I was in, I'm trying to think about like the detail it.
Hmm.
We were going by weeks in that mentorship, and we weren't even on the wholesaling yet. But I was so eager to get this deal because I just spent 5,000, man. Like if you don't make a whole ton of money and you spend 5,000, you feel like you got like a. It's funny because my mentor is giving me a call right now. This is the guy
Oh
who
yeah.
who helped me get into wholesaling. Yeah, he's giving me a call right now. So um, it was a lot of money at the time, but I was just on super hustle mode. And I
Mhm.
went to PropStream. I pulled the whole list of straight land. He told me at the time, just pull land and I'm gonna help you move the land. I'm like, okay, cool. I was calling day and night, man. And this one guy picks up. I'll never forget him. His name is Mitch. He's like, "You want to buy my land?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to buy your land." He's like, "How much?" I'm like, "Can I ask you a couple of questions?" I didn't even know how to have a conversation with a seller at the
Yeah.
time. Oh man, it was intimidating. So we start talking about it. He's like, "Man, I had this thing listed with a realtor for 6 months. Never got me an offer. Signed the listing agreement. Never called me back." I'm like, "Get out of here! Oh, this is my opportunity." I'm like, "If I can get you a solid number today, can we sign something? I don't know what we're gonna sign because I don't even have a contract to sign, but
Yeah.
can we sign something?" He's like, "Absolutely." Called my guy Javier back up, and he's like, "Yeah, man, go in and I'll give you the agreement. Just get it signed, and we'll knock it out." And man, it was so exciting. It was so exciting to see a transaction happen like that off of two phone calls and make. I think that deal we JV'd it, so I think I made like 35 or 4,500 off of it or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fucking badass, dude. I love that. You just jump right into it. I feel like it's a big thing a lot of people struggle with is like I got to know everything and I got to do this and get all my ducks in a row and get my t-shirt with the logo on it, and my business card, and I got to, like all the little things you really don't need. And like really the best teacher, I mean, it's obviously good to learn and have mentors, and it's super important, helps you scale and get places faster, but really that you can't beat and you can't skip. You really just can't skip taking action. So you have to take action
At
or
all.
nothing's ever going to happen. But that's great. So
Yeah,
how
at
long
all,
did
man. That's
how many people did you talk
at
to
all.
before you got that guy?
Woo. Bro, I pulled a list of like 2,000 pieces of land. If I recall correctly, I think he was like number like 1100, maybe 1,200. So
Mhm,
we went through, man, the way I thought wholesaling was I can just call one person. They're gonna be like, yeah, I would love to sell you my property.
mhm.
Oh boy, I had it all wrong, and I'm just getting cursed out, and I'm gonna kill you, and all this crazy stuff. I'm like, man, but I'm like, somebody's gonna sell. I just had that mentality, like somebody's gonna sell. Just kept
Yeah,
going.
that's great, man. That's kinda the same for me because, yeah, I found I've been doing wholesale a little over 2 years, and, yeah, when I've done sales since I was 18, legally. So I've been done sales forever though, and, so I've done, like, every other kind of sales you can think of, and it was like so I've gotten beat up, every which way, the cold calls, call centers, inbound, outbound, knocked on doors, and it was I never got beat up like I did when I started calling, like, wholesaling lists, and I'm like, "Wow," because I started calling to San Antonio, I didn't know it was so competitive here. And then people are like, I get called like 5 or 6 times a day, like, fuck you, go die. And I'm like, whoa, like someone told me they hope my mom and my whole family gets cancer. And I'm like, fuck, dude,
Oh,
this is rough. And I'm like, all right, we're gonna keep going. But yeah, it's a shock for sure, man, when you first start. It's
yeah,
not
and
as easy.
you know what though? I think it's the most beautiful process in the world. Everybody who I help with wholesaling, like they're like, Rob, can you just teach me how to get leads? We can hire a VA so I can get leads and just start talking to sellers. I'm like, don't skip the process. I was like, go get beat
Right.
up. I was like,
Hmm.
go get beat up. I
Hmm.
love it when somebody can, and it sounds crazy, intentionally go get beat up
Yeah.
because it makes you 10 times better on the phone when you're actually talking with a seller. Like the only reason I'm so good at talking with sellers now, I'm not gonna say I'm the best, but I'm pretty damn good, is because I got beat up at least 15,000 times,
Hmm.
you know, and it gives you this certain skill set of being witty, that I teach my closers now. I'm like, man, we have to be witty, because my closers will get on the phone and they're like 300,000. Most people are going to be like, whoa, that's too much for a property. I tell them, I'm like, man, that's amazing. Can I buy it right now for 300,000? The responses from the sellers when they hear that from my closers, they don't even know how to react,
Right.
you know? And they're like, I'm not serious in selling. Yeah, I know you're not, but can we see if we can even approve it for 300,000 a day? And they're like, yeah, let's see if we can do it. All right, let's go for it. So we get on the phones, man, and we make sure we're witty because it's gonna make you out. It's gonna separate you from every other
Yeah.
wholesaler who's calling those people.
100%. And I'm like, yeah, no, say I had a guy the other day, like crazy number two. And I'm like, you said that number? I'm like, you messing with me? He's like, yeah, I'm messing with you. I'm like, yeah, 'cause a lot of times they know it's a crazy number. They're just throwing it out there because you're just a random guy. And I feel like for me, just having like putting yourself in their shoes and like thinking like, hey, this random dude just
Yeah.
called me or texted me or whatever, you know, the one, just know they're on the phone with you for a reason. Like they're still talking to you. They probably want to sell. It's just your job to find it, but it's like just knowing, just like keeping it fun and light, and just knowing they're going to be guarded. And like your job is to break down their guard by being fun, by being witty, and by staying in that conversation.
And I love those text messages you post, man. I always
Yeah,
try to keep up because I know you post the funniest text messages in the world when you text them with them.
yeah,
Um, Yeah, man, that's the number one thing, and I wish I knew that in the beginning, when I was wholesaling, I actually spoke to sellers, and they will give me a number because that's one of the key components of wholesaling is, like, get the number from the seller, and when
hmm,
I pick up the phone, like, "Hey, my name is Robert, I wanna buy your house, 400,000." I'm like, "Oh, I got a number, they're motivated, let's go."
hmm,
And I was just such a sucker about it where I'm like, "They're motivated." And when I
hmm,
bring them to my mentor, he's like, "They're not motivated, they're throwing you a number." And what I really came to discover is it's a scare tactic,
hmm.
and this is what a lot of sellers have taught me. And it's crazy how sellers do things, universally and the same. And none
Yeah,
of these sellers know each other and they say the same things.
right.
They
There's
do
only
this
so
to
many.
scare you off the phone. But if
Hmm.
you can get past getting scared off the phone, they're gonna open up 100% to you, man.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, I got to post more of those texts, man. I try to post just the funniest ones, like, but yeah, they're wild, man. But yeah, even on the, I gotta start doing the calls too. They get wild stuff on the phones too. I'm sure you do too. But
Well, and this is super aside from wholesale. I
mhm.
think the engagement will be crazy if you can get a crazy text message and not respond to it and go post it on Facebook real quick and be like, "Hey, give me best response to respond to this
Right,
person." Oh, you would have crazy engagement, man.
right. Yeah, that's a good idea, man. No, I should do that for sure. Yeah, some of those crack me up, man. I was trying to think. One dude, I think my favorite one. I don't know if I ever posted it when I first started. Some dude's like, yeah, you can buy it, but it's haunted. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, bro, I'm like, okay, like, well, how haunted are we talking? And he's like, oh, it's real haunted. It's like poltergeist and like the upstairs rooms, like a triple, quadruple murder. I'm like, shit, man. I'm like, cool. I'm like, like, have you gotten like any quotes on the Ghostbusters yet? Or, and he's like, oh no, we end up talking. I'm like, but no, I don't really want to sell, but yeah, if I do, I'll keep you in mind. But like you said, just keeping it witty and light, and like, just acknowledging that, like, they're fucking with you is like so much better than most people are like, like, okay, bye. Like,
I know we're probably live on multiple sites, and I don't know
Mhm. We're just in the group.
how
I'm
clean we
like,
have to keep it.
yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just in my Facebook group. And that's,
I
yeah, I
had
think
a
you do
seller.
too.
I was I was marketing in Birmingham, Alabama, and we blast texted a bunch of sellers, right? One seller messaged me back. He's like, "Listen, I'm definitely interested in selling it. Just two things." I'm like, "Yeah, go for it." He's like, "It's full of crackheads and it's full of drug dealers."
Hmm.
I'm like, and he's like, "So if you're willing to buy it, we could buy it." I'm like, "I only have one question to qualify you." He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Does it come with the drugs or without the drugs? Because that's gonna make a big difference."
Right.
The seller called me and he was laughing. He's like, "That's the best response I've ever got to
Hmm.
anybody that I told that to."
Yeah. No, that's a great one.
I'm like, "Man, I'm just trying to have fun with it."
Yeah, that's it, man. It's just having fun with it, man. It's like so much better, like in your mind state and everything. If you have fun with it, it's like so much better than just like being like all tight and like serious and like clenching your butt cheeks and fucking being like, I'm like, I got to do this and smile the whole time and like, like think happy thoughts and just like have fun with this. Now that you just can't take it so seriously.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
No, that's too funny though, man. So yeah, so what's so you're doing land when you first started. You got that first land deal. What's what happened like from then? Like take us like through the journey, like from then to now.
So from then to now, I got that first hit. That
Mhm.
first assignment got signed. That first HUD was received. And I'm like, how the heck do I scale this thing up? I'm like, how do I get more of these every day, week, month, year? And I'm still in the process of building it out, So we're still under construction on doing that, which it's working well. And I was just like, man, let me just do what I already did to get this first deal. Let me keep calling.
Mm.
The only difference that I made was I just hired a co-caller to call with me, but I knew nothing about managing somebody overseas, knew nothing about how to even lead them to success, knew nothing about how to sharpen them. And I just failed time after time after time, hiring VA after VA. I'm like, man, these VAs suck. And when I looked at it, I'm like, the VAs don't suck. Rob sucks.
Mm.
So after that, I mean, I just kept doing land, and land deal came, land deal came, land deal came. And it was just amazing, man. It went from a $2,500 deal to, a $30,000 deal and $15,000 deal. And I was just like, man, this is amazing. But the problem was I was still in an employee mindset at the time when I first started that I was blowing this money like it was a regular paycheck,
Mm.
which really screwed me. But once I started understanding that and I started running out of marketing dollars, I'm like, uh-oh, I gotta learn how to do this thing right. And ever since, man, we built up systems, we built up teams, we built up processes. I have a pretty awesome sales process for my whole team that we all go off of, so we know how calls are structured. Man, we went from losing to winning to losing again to winning again to losing again, and it's just a journey that we just keep learning and building upon. And now the state that we're in is I'm building up a whole team.
Mm.
So I have multiple people who make offers. We have data managers in place, lead managers in place, and it's we're all working together on this common goal, and it's just been super amazing, man.
That's great, man. I love that. And I think that's like the best point too. Like to touch on what you said beforehand, was that like everybody wants to skip steps and everybody wants to hire VAs. Like I don't want to make the cold calls. Like you did that first, like you still got the deal first. And then even once you were ready to hire someone, it still was a struggle. But imagine how much harder
Whew.
the struggle would have been if you never did it first. And like you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to manage someone to do something that you never did. and it's already a struggle trying to manage them, get do something that you already know how to do. So man, you can't skip steps, man. You just gotta go through it.
And you have to, yeah, man. It's and if I can, because I'm always in the mindset, if I can go back, what would I teach myself? And then I document it. And I was like, man, if I can go back, what would I do? I was like, I'll still hire a VA, but I'll focus a lot more on leadership because with my teams now, my team is half VAs, half here.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not a big team. It's probably like 7 or 8 of us. And
That's a good sized team, man.
yeah, it's a decent sized
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
But what we're doing, man, is we are, I document everything. I've done everything they're doing. But one thing I focus on every day is the leadership. How can I take my team from where they're at right now to their own personal success?
Mm.
You know, how can I get them to be better? And it's crazy the results you start to see just on phone calls alone between the closers and the sellers, or my dispo agent and the buyers. Like, it's insane, man, what happens when you really pour into your team and you make things happen with them,
I love that,
you
man.
know?
'Cause I feel like so many people think it the opposite way. They think, what can they do for me? Like how can they make me money? How can they help the business? And like, why don't they love the business as much as I do? But you have that servant leader mindset when you're like, what can I do for them? How can I help them be successful, man? That's definitely the right mindset.
Oh, 100. And you know what's crazy, man, is that's the mindset I approach it with at first. I'm like, man, because when you get into the wholesale world, everything is VA, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
Have them do this, have them do that. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to have them cold call. Why am I not getting any leads? I'm going to have them cold call. Why am I not getting any buyers? And I started realizing, I'm like, man, I would talk to them in the morning, talk to them at night, and that's it. And I would not hear from them in between. And I'm like, these people are just taking my money at this point. Now with my both of my VAs, so we have 4 cold callers. We have a closer who's a VA, and then we have a dispo agent as a VA and a data manager as a VA.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking all day on Slack, man. Whether it's about the weather, whether it's about them eating, talking about deals, talking about just whatever we're talking about. We have a call every morning, man. What did we do yesterday? What buyers did we bring in? What sellers did we talk to? What offers did we make? And I'm literally working more for the VAs than anybody else because I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to get them to be so good that they don't need me.
Right. I love that, man. So what was the shift? Like, so what went from, I mean, so you had the other mindset beforehand, you're getting frustrated not doing it. Was it those morning calls? Was there anything else besides that that kind of made it actually feel like a real team and not just, some people overseas?
So I'm gonna be honest with you. The real shift was I was watching Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, and I
Mm-hmm.
noticed how much
So
of a
good.
leader he was to that team, man. And he was so big that he's like, man, he's helping everybody on the team, but at the same time, he's building himself up. So I took that same mindset when I first watched it, which was like I think sometime last year, and I'm like, I have to approach my team the same exact way Jordan approached the Bulls. I want
Mm.
to get to those championships, so I got to make sure my team is good. And I read a couple of books here and there, Who Not How, um, some other books, Stream Ownership, like the regular leadership books. Read a lot of
Yeah.
John Maxwell, and I just started implementing all of those strategies, man.
Mm.
And it started working. The biggest thing, which really gave me a big mindset shift, was when I started reading Traction.
Mm.
How to lead your team, how to structure your team, how you have your L10 meetings, your daily huddles, all that good stuff. The productivity shot through the roof once we really implemented all of that.
I love that, man. No, that's great, man. I feel like a lot of times too, people read a lot of stuff, they'll do stuff and just won't actually implement it or take action. What do you do to make sure that you actually take action on those things that you're learning?
Oh man, it used to be overwhelming, but the biggest thing that I do now is when I look at a book and I analyze the book, and there's a couple of different things I look at: podcasts, books, interviews, documentaries. Everything has to have a purpose of why I'm consuming it.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I'll take a book that I'm reading right now, Outwitting the Devil, right? It's a great book. I've read
Yeah.
it years ago and I'm reading it again right now. I look for one thing. I'm like, I just want to walk away with one thing because there's going to be 100 good things. I want that one great thing that's going to take me from Robert 1.0 and transition me to Robert 2.0. And we just take that one thing. I write it on my phone and I look at it I actually read this in Apex. I forgot the
Mhm.
guy's name, and I hope he hears this and hopefully he knows who he is. He's like, man, take 30 minutes after a book, find that gem and figure out how you can implement it in your life. And I started doing that.
Mhm.
And I'll look at the gem and I'm like, all right, I could do it in my finances. I could do it in my business. I could do it in my relationships. And we just make it a habit every day, bro, to make sure that we get that thing in motion. And by the time you know it, after day 10, 20, 30, it's like nothing.
That's great, man. I love that, man. I'm gonna have to start doing that myself. That's like, yeah, it's such a game changer, man. If you just have that, I love that you have the mindset first. Like, what's the thing I'm looking for? For me, it's like, yeah, I try to look for, I call them gold nuggets. Originally got it from Ty Lopez, and it went through the 67 steps. But it's, yeah, I'm just looking for that one thing, that one gold nugget, and that's gonna help me solve this problem that I'm having right now. And it's just such a
100%.
different mindset than being like, I have to read every page of this book and remember it all. And like, if you're looking like something to take action on, it's just so much better.
That's a good gem from the 67 steps. I only went up to step like 30. I'm not
gonna lie, I didn't finish it either. Yeah, I didn't either. I was like 40 or something, 50. Yeah.
But he mentioned in the 67 steps, he's like, where's the rule that you have to read the book from front to back? I'm like, that is a good point. And I still read them from front to back personally.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
But the thing is with a book, the good thing about a book is there's always that one good idea in it that you could really take and run with it. But it's like you're drinking from a water hose. And, understanding where you're at and what you're doing and what you need and what you don't need. Like right now, like we're trying to get to 5+ deals per month, right? I'm not going to go hire 100 VAs to cold call for me right now because that's not the process I'm in right now. Is it a good idea when I get 10 closers? Absolutely. But right now it's not. Same thing in the books. There's going to be a lot of ideas where you're not ready for that step or that gem yet. Take the one you're ready for. That way you can build the foundation to get to the next gem,
Yeah, that's great, man. I love that. So went through the progression, man. So what's it? So you started hiring teams started clicking. What's been like working best for you guys right now? Is it still mostly cold calling? Are you guys doing any other things as far as marketing?
Yeah, so we are actually scaling up the marketing again now. So for the last year, we've been primarily cold calling. It's good because we're bringing in consistent leads. Like our VAs, we bring in anywhere from 2 to 3 per VA. We're running 4 VAs. That's been working really good. But where we're at now is we're going to start getting back to SMS blasting, text blasting. We do emailing. I don't consider it a whole channel, like marketing channel. It's a follow-up channel for us. So we get deals through email where people are like, yeah, I'd love to hear a cash offer. Can you guys give me a call? Our CRM just blasts out emails all day long, blasts out SMS as well. So we definitely do those 2 things. We're implementing Need to Sell My Home Fast. I don't know if you're familiar with that service. I'm pretty sure you are.
No, I haven't heard
of it. So Need to Sell Your Home Fast is like a giant PPC service where they sell you the leads. The good thing about them, so they sell you motivated leads, and I'm almost sure, I haven't dealt with them yet, but from my understanding is if you buy the lead and they don't convert, you're able to get your money back from the lead. Not 100% sure, but that's what I was told. So I'm like, okay, so we're going to start buying some leads from there as well as the marketing channel.
Yep.
So we're doing that, and that's pretty much it. And also tonight, because tonight's Friday, I'm getting back into bandit signs. So I'm actually going to go put up some bandit signs tonight throughout the city.
Nice, man. That's badass. So you say getting back into it. You ever get a deal from doing it before?
Never, but I never really tried before. I bought maybe like 500 of them. I put out like 10 of them, and I expected to get like 100 deals.
Yeah.
So the goal right now is to be putting out 20 of them a week throughout different cities here in South Florida, and see where it goes. I already paid for them, so I'd rather just go put them out.
Yeah. That's awesome. I've never done the bandit signs. I actually got some and then never hung them up. I'm like, no. But yeah, I was curious, how well they work because I see them all the time. So, man, they must.
I got a lead from it. I got a lead from it, and the lead was in pre-foreclosure, but the seller was not fond on selling to somebody that's local. They wanted to sell to a major person who they knew could buy it, and I'm like, oh man. So I kind of lost out on that one, but got a lead from it, so it could have turned into something. That was like a year ago when I did that. So
yeah, that's crazy, man. So tell me about the emails, man. I haven't really heard anyone doing emails. So are these like you're cold emailing people? Is this like how to walk me through the email process?
Yeah, so the email process comes after we actually talk to the lead. So we don't just go skip trace and get cold emails. Throughout our sales process, what we do, it's required for my closers and myself to get their email mid-process. So while we're talking about the property, I'm like, hey, Kai, listen, I have a good feeling our underwriter is going to approve this deal today. Just in case he does approve it, can you give me your email so I can have him send you a copy of the cash offer today? Sure. They'll give me their email, puts it into our CRM, and we have a whole drip campaign set up throughout the whole CRM, probably about 20 or 30 emails where it's telling them, hey, this is our cash offer. This is what a cash offer is. Just educating them on
Yeah.
how we can buy their house fast for cash, what's required of them, what's required of us, and what we can do moving forward. And throughout those emails, once we make a cash offer, they get blasted maybe 100 times on emails.
Really?
And the
Okay.
cool thing about it is it's not through MailChimp, it's not through Constant Contact. There's no unsubscribe button. I have it
Mhm.
automated to where it's like I'm sending a personal email to them so they can't
Mm.
unsubscribe from these emails. Might not be ethical, have no clue. But they always get emails, and I'm not interested. I'll get, can you make me a better cash offer? I didn't like your cash offer last time. What's something else that we can do? I'm not interested in selling anymore, maybe in 6 months. So we get so much responses from those emails.
That's great, man. I
Yeah.
love that, man. I'm gonna start implementing that. I haven't heard anyone talk about that because because yeah, I thought cold emails. I'm like, I don't know, I tried the email just from pulling lists, and it's like mostly they're junk. It's not like real emails, so it hasn't been worth it. But
Yep.
I love that because all those people, because like a lot of people, they get they're like afraid to like tell you on the phone or like pick up the phone or something if they don't like your offer or tell you why. Because a lot of people just don't like rejection or don't, they might have really liked you on the phone and they don't want to offend you. So they a lot more times they'll actually give you what that objection is, or they'll follow up with you with email, man. So that I like that a lot. I'm gonna start implementing that.
I've had people write me paragraphs in the email, man. And
Mhm.
not only that, the cool thing about this is why I like it is a couple of different reasons. Is number one, it's another form of contact. Usually, most
Mm.
of the time, when we have a phone number and an address.
Yeah.
Um, I know some wholesalers go as far as getting their social medias. I feel like it's a little
Mhm.
weird.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't go that far, but we get the email. You definitely have to get the email before the cash offer because if they don't
Yeah.
like the cash offer, they are not giving you the email
Right.
at all. So you want to get
Mhm.
it before that. Other than that, you build a book of business, man. So like our CRM, we probably have like 600 leads in there, maybe 700 leads.
Mhm.
And I'd probably say 70% of those are emails. So we probably got like 500 emails in there. So if at any point, any of our uninterested people who never sold their home, they maybe need a new roof, I could go pitch somebody, hey, if you need a new roof, contact this guy. And we could start targeting and creating deals that way. That's like a long-term play though.
Mhm. Yeah, for
But
sure though. But having the data and having that just crucial, man. This gives you so many more options. But no, I love that, man. I'm gonna add that to my script for sure. I'm gonna put that in there today. So, okay, so what's your? So I know you kind of mentioned your sales process briefly. Can you kind of run us through just like a high level like overview of what it looks like from when you guys reach out to someone to them becoming a deal?
yeah, 1000%. So it's not my process. I got it
Mhm.
from a good dude. He pretty much gave us the bones of it, and I just went and filled in all the meat. And so it's super simple, man. We have a solid introduction to
Mhm.
where we can really know if these people are motivated and have urgency in the first 60 seconds of the phone call. So we get three commitments from them.
Mhm.
Hey, are you interested in selling your home in the near future? Yes. Okay, awesome. We're gonna make you a cash offer today. We just want to see if we do get you a good number, are you ready to give us a yes or no today? Yeah, awesome. Number three, we're glad we got in contact with you today. We just bought a home in the area. We have some money to buy another home, so we're looking forward to spending it on your home. You're definitely interested in selling it, right? Yes. So we get three commitments to know exactly where the seller is at.
Mhm.
Even if they're not committed and urgent and motivated, I have my closers pretty much what they do. I have them treat it as a training call where they take it 100% seriously just to get a rep in, just to get a swing at it. Because I've had a lot of deals where these people were never motivated.
Mm.
And once we go through that whole process, they're motivated. So we go through there, we go through a whole bunch of rapport building, figuring out the problem. After that, we start talking about the property. Once we start talking about the property, we start getting in depth with a couple of different things. From there, we'll go through our roadblocks, time, money, people. From there, we'll actually be like, hey, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to place you on a quick hold. We're going to run to our underwriter. Then obviously, they come back to me. We'll talk about the number. They'll jump back on, make them the offer.
Cool.
So how it works is if everything is done correctly, it's probably about a 40-45 minute call with a seller.
Mhm. I like that. So you guys, you're giving the offer right on that same call. You're just putting them on a brief hold. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that.
100%.
Yeah, we're doing
Because
the
and right
two-step.
now
Oh, I don't know why
you
this
do a
is
two-step
on that
call.
way. Yeah, yeah. Usually call them back, but not like that. You just do it right there.
Well, here's the reason why we do that. So number one, a lot of what I've understood and I hear from a lot of sellers is when we call them, They're like, you guys I love how they categorize everybody
Right.
as one. You guys always call me, never give me a number. Never. I'm like, oh, I love that. I'm like, thank you. I was like, that's probably one of our competitors never give you a number. But for you today, Kyle, we're gonna give you a number before you hit that red button on your phone. 100%. Even if the property doesn't qualify, the number is too high. Even if it doesn't even make sense as a deal in general, we give them a number no matter what.
Yeah. No, I like that. Yeah, 'cause, yeah, I've done every other business. I've always done it on that same call. So I like that. I'm sorry giving that a try too, and see if you get better results. Because yeah, it's always a pain because you're building up so much. You're getting all their emotions high. You're building up all this rapport and all this stuff, and you're getting them to want to take action over the call, and then having the other call like who knows what's going on, but all that's gone, and then you just hit them with the number. It's it's tough to rebuild rapport, and all that. It's more transactional for sure. But that's killer, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I definitely like that. I mean, a lot of good tips. If anyone else has any questions, as always, drop them in the comments. I appreciate you guys. We got a few people that hopped on, said what up. We got Ace, we got JP Cosby, man. I appreciate you guys hopping on. But yeah,
JP.
so we'll keep going to it for a bit, man. Yeah, man, he's a cool dude for sure. But so what else is next? You kind of mentioned, you guys still growing and scaling the same thing. What else you guys working on?
So it's just working on the vision, man. So right now we're implementing a data manager. This isn't something I hear a lot about in wholesaling neither. Because I think everybody takes this position lightly. Hire a data manager, man. And what our data manager is actually doing is they go on Zillow. So they do three things. Number one, they go on Zillow. They scrape for FSBOs as well as landlords and buyers, right? To me, those are the most motivated people in the world. If you're taking the time to go learn how to post your property on Zillow by yourself, you're motivated. I want to swing at that lead. Even if it doesn't turn into a deal, I want to swing at it.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I hit it, it might be a home run. We have no clue until we hit it. So we want to take a swing at every lead on Zillow. Number two, there is a lot of for rent by the landlords on there. Those are a lot of buyers, man. A lot of those are cash buyers who are just doing things by themselves. They don't know wholesalers exist. They don't know they can get discounted properties. So our data manager scrapes for both of those positions, right? And what they do is they'll build up a list. They'll pass it to my dispo guy, and they'll pass it into our CRM. My dispo will call for cash buyers. My closer will call for all those FSBOs, and we'll start making offers. We'll start making offers, and we'll build our cash buyers list. So if you could do that, and it's not a crazy position. If you could start doing that, you will build up pretty fast too. Number two, we're training them right now, building out systems for them to reach out to all of the counties, pull all of the lists, go onto PropStream list source, pull those lists, organize them, and then they're going to pass them to me so I can get them skip traced, because that will take a huge boatload off of your desk. So they're doing that. And then number three, what they're also doing, they're going to be monitoring emails and text messages for us. So anything that comes in, they'll pass it over to the closer. They'll pass it over to the dispo guy.
I love that, man.
That's a big position that we're working on right now to really get up and rocking.
Yeah, no, that's huge. Yeah, because those are definitely like very time, like I don't know, intensive. Time intensive is the word I'm looking for. It's just like you can train someone to do it, and it's something anybody can do, but it takes a lot of time. But it definitely takes a little bit of time to figure it out too. But
yeah, so we're just doing that, man. We're focusing on that data management. Let me see what else we're doing. Man, the real goal here, like with the wholesaling thing, like I love the assignments, man. There's nothing. We actually just sent out assignment right now. I'm waiting for that thing to come back signed. Those are my favorite. There's nothing more amazing in wholesaling than getting a signed contract with a seller and a signed contract with a buyer. The third greatest thing is when you get that email from the title company that escrow's closed. I love that feeling, man. The real goal here with the wholesaling, man, because I love all that stuff, but we're building out this deal machine, right? No pun intended towards the app, but we're building a deal machine here to where we have all these processes in place. We have all these people in place that we could just kick off 10, 15 deals a month, and I could build out a fix and flip company or a buy and hold company to where we could just buy the deals from ourselves.
Yeah.
And it feeds both of those companies. So that's like what we're really focusing on here. And then after that, we're just going to duplicate the model into multifamily, commercial, and all that good stuff.
I love that, man. That's killer. And I love that you said, those are your three favorite parts. Because I feel so many people in my mastermind, people I work with, like, I'm like, like the other day we have a little group text to people in my mastermind. I'm like, hey, I want to shout out these guys. They just started. They just got their first deals under contract. And one was like, well, I'll celebrate. I'll celebrate, once it's, all done and paid. I'm like, bro, you gotta celebrate every step of the way. You gotta celebrate you gotta celebrate what you want to see more of in life. If you're not, you're doing the opposite. You're thinking it's not going to get done. And if you're thinking it's not going to get done, your brain's going to like find a way to make sure that shit don't happen. So,
Oh man. And I learned this from a good a sales guy down in Miami. Like I was at his event. I don't think he's really known, but he told us, he's like, man, the best time to close a deal is right after you close the deal. I'm like, oh man, because your energy is so high from closing that deal, right? If you allow it to be, like you celebrate, like I take 5 minutes, I celebrate, I'm happy. I'm in the chats, like we just locked something up, guys. We're gonna make something happen. Right when we're done, I don't even continue calling new leads. I'm continue calling all of the people who are already qualified to sell and we made cash offers to. I'm like, who's next? Who's next? So you have to enjoy those moments, man. They're fun because you're gonna miss them if you don't get any deals for a little bit.
100%. And man, I got that from Brian Tracy book, same thing. And that was like huge eye opener for me. Before I'd get a big deal and they go, oh, it's fucking great. I'm like, go out, buy a team lunch and get drunk. And so I was young. But now I'm like, oh shit, or I'd just, take the foot off the gas, just be super happy. And then I'm like, oh, just call the next one. I started doing that. I read that book that same day I did it. I closed like the biggest deal I ever closed that time. It was like 20 grand or something. Out of business. I was like, fucking, this is great. And I'm like, cool, I'm gonna call another one and then close that dude. And I closed the third dude like shortly after. And I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta keep doing this. Like he's right. It is the best time to call someone when you just close someone because you're feeling fucking great.
Your energy's through the roof. Oh, I love it.
No, it's a rush. And I feel like anyone, if you start wholesaling, just keep going. Just go till you get your first one. You got to get that rush, you get that feeling. Because like, what would have happened if Rob quit? It took him 1,100 calls. What happened if he quit on 1,000 or right before you got that one? You just never would have known. Like, oh, this shit sucks. This bullshit doesn't work. But I mean,
I think this is one of the highest resistance. Yeah, I think this is one of the highest resistance probably industries to be in when it comes to buying people's houses. Man, you get a lot of pressure against you, man.
For sure. And it's because that's nothing else where you can make as much money as you can make, like without, with a low barrier of entry, like this, man. I think it's one of the best vehicles for people because I don't know anywhere else. I've been an entrepreneur in sales since I was 18. I've been in sales, but an entrepreneur since like 22, 23. And like, I've never heard of the shit, dude. If I heard of this anytime before, man, I would have been all in, dude. As soon as I heard about this, I got my first deal. I'm like, I'm fucking in, man. This shit's great.
Yeah, man, when I tell you and I always try to challenge people on that when I talk to people. They're like, you can't do anything better than buying people's houses at a discount. I'm like, tell me another place where I can go call somebody from an iPhone, right? And within an hour, if we have a good conversation, I can lock it up, go make one other phone call, right? And this is best case scenario, right? Sometimes it takes 5 or 6 calls. I can go to another buyer and be like, I got this deal and I just connected them and I made $35,000.
Right.
I can't think of another industry we do that in. You look at, like, let's say roofing, love the roofing industry. Like I want to get in it one day. You got to go door knock a bunch of doors before you get a deal. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to take you a little bit, but I mean, man, I loved it. I love the real estate. I love wholesaling. It's such a fun industry if you make it fun for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Nah, man, it's great, man. I'm happy I found it for sure. Definitely grateful. But no, that's great, man. I mean, I've been getting a lot of great gold nuggets. Looks like we do have a question. See if we have any other ones. And then we'll wrap up in a little bit. But JP said, what tool do you both use to record the calls you make? Looking to hear playbacks to get better once I make the calls. That's something I highly recommend everyone does. I think besides getting the reps in and getting punched in the face like we were talking about, I think the only way to get better, or the best ways to get better, is to do that. Listen to your recordings, because that's how you can really. It's hard if you're painting the picture to see the whole frame and see everything. But when you record it, you're taking a step back and you can hear like, oh, I fucked up there, I heard that. And your ego plays tricks on you. I'm like, oh, I did great on that call, or I did shit on that call. And like your ego will tell you one thing. And I've had it go both ways. I've had one like that call was fucking awful. I didn't get the deal. And then I've gone back and listened to it. I'm like, oh, it was pretty good. And I've had other ones like, oh, I did good. And then I listened to it. I'm like, oh no, I messed up there, and there. So definitely do that. And then the other one's role play. If you have other team members, if you're in a mastermind, my mastermind, we role play once a week. We all get on, we read the script together on a Zoom call. We go over it. We give each other objections because it's much better to do that. It's awkward. It doesn't matter who you are. It's always awkward to do it when you're first starting, but it's better to be awkward among your peers than it is to be, when there's money on the line. But to answer your question,
1,000%.
yeah, do you agree? Do you guys think that's important doing those things to you?
Oh, bro, yeah, 100%. So I was just before I got onto this call, I had like an hour free before this call. I was actually there's this wholesaler. He's been in wholesaling probably 4 or 5 years, and he's a realtor. He has a team, and he invited me to go train his team on how we're locking up deals, our sales process. And that was probably the second thing I told him. Number one is valuing every lead you get in your CRM. The second one is listening to every cash offer call you make, because what ends up happening is you start understanding your tonality. You start understanding the words that you're using incorrectly. You see if you're following the script. If you're not following the script, are you giving an experience, right? Are you asking the questions incorrectly, or are you just blasting them out? And I do those calls every single day with my closers. The only day I haven't done it was today because I was in the training with them. But we're actually doing it today at 4 p.m. where we're going over all the cash offer calls she made yesterday and our lead manager made yesterday. Because, man, they get so much better. So much better. Jordan watched all of his games, man. You don't think you should watch you listen to all of your recordings? But to answer the question, we personally use a service called Open Phone. It's a calling app, right? It's probably like $13 or $15 a month for a line, and it records all your calls for you, and it's an app on your phone. So we pull all of our recordings from there.
Cool. Yeah, mine's through my CRM REI, but it just records it all automatically, and then we go back and listen to them. Yeah, so I have to call through the app or the other one. I do have one on my iPhone. I don't even know what it's called. It's like some free app, like it's just call recording or some shit that I do just for my personal use if I'm not using the CRM. But once I built the CRM and started using my CRM, I just do it all through there. But definitely do it.
Or what you can do, because I started doing this as well, is record it with a camera. If you have a second iPhone laying around, you have a camera, record the whole call you have with them, because you start seeing your body language. You start seeing how you look when you start doing things. Are you slumped up? Or you have your feet up? What do you have to do better to sound better? So that's another strategy you can use if you don't want to get one of those services.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, and I think that there's like free apps and stuff too, and phone. I mean, there's always a way, but definitely do it. Highly recommend doing it. I think it's one of the biggest mistakes people make is not doing that. But cool, man. So I know we ran through the whole sales process. How it looks getting a deal. I think what a lot of people don't talk about is what it looks like after you get a deal. So what does the process look like for you guys? Once you find a deal and then you go looking to find a buyer.
Yeah, so we actually went through this process. So we locked up a deal last Saturday. It was a deal here in Delray Beach. A good friend of mine locked it up and brought it over. The way the deal looks is the ARV is 340 and the contract is 203. Right? So it's a pretty hefty spread, obviously rehab and all that stuff. What we do is personally what I do, I can't talk for anybody else. We have a 3-step process system. Everything that we try to do is systemized, right? That way it runs without me. What we first do is we blast it out to our VIP buyers, people who've made us offers before, bought properties from us. So we use that VIP section. They get it like 2 days ahead. Second thing we do is we blast it out through the rest of our buyers. If we don't get any traction on the VIP, or we get a couple of bids on the VIP, we'll blast it out to all of our other buyers. By the third day, if we have no type of traction on there, then what we do is we'll go hunt for buyers either on PropStream, or a good friend of mine has what's the name
Investor
of
Lift.
The Investor Lift. Yeah. So I'm like, man, go blast us on Investor Lift. Yeah, solid service, right? So we'll just go blast all of those. We'll go look at recent cash comps, the past 2 years worth of cash comps in that area, mile radius. We'll call them up. Usually doesn't get past that process. We'll find a buyer. If it comes worst case scenario where we have no buyer at all, by that time we already know if it's a bad deal or not. What we'll do is I'll go blast it out to some of my other wholesalers, and I'm like, hey, listen, blast this out to your buyers. Let's see if we could find something here. But usually by the second or third day, we have that thing in motion. Yeah,
it's like pretty identical to our process for sure. I like that you said second and third day though, because I feel like a lot of people, especially when they're first starting or don't know, they just get real excited they got the deal and they just don't take urgency in like finding a buyer. Like it's a fine line. Obviously, you don't want to
Yeah.
stop. You don't want to stop finding new deals. You got to keep finding new deals. But you gotta have that urgency. Like, hey, it's fucking crunch time. I got to do what I said I'm going to do, and I got to get this deal moved. One, so you can get paid, and two, so you can come through for the seller.
Yeah, and not only that, the problem that I found too, and I don't know if you can agree with this, is when I first started getting deals, I would drop the whole acquisitions process. I'll
Yeah.
drop all of my follow-ups, I'll drop all of my cold calling just to baby that one deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why we brought the data manager on in so we can get more buyers in, so we have more of a range to spread it to. And we have our dispo guy. Our dispo guy, I mean, he's a VA. He'll package up the deal for us and blast it out on Constant Contact. So
Mm-hmm.
it takes a huge boat off of me. That way, once I lock it up, I pass it, we'll blast it, and I get right back to the follow-ups and the acquisitions process so we can get the next deal.
Yeah, no, that's huge, man. That's a big mistake I made when I first started too. And I see everybody makes that too. It's like, oh, I'm just going to do that. They either go one or two ways. They don't take the urgency, or they're like, oh, I'm not doing anything else. So it's definitely like that fine line. You got to do both for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And then you got to build up the momentum again. You know, now you got to get back to the cold call. Now you got to get back to the follow-ups. And you broke your word because you didn't follow up with them when you told them you were going to. So I wish I knew that in the beginning.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it's it's definitely one of the biggest changes and shifts you have to make. You just getting that and getting the right people in the right places.
Yeah,
for sure, man. But so, man, this has been great, man. I really appreciate you coming on. Final question I got for you, and then wrap it up. But is there like any other tips or advice you have for new wholesalers just getting started, or anything else you wish you knew when you first started?
man, the number one thing is, so in order to really build like a good wholesaling business, it's going to take three things: a good mindset, because all of this stuff it ain't easy getting told F you and go die 100 times a day. Number two, it's going to take more people to help you. In order to get more people, you have to have more money to hire the people. So the biggest tip is, when you do get these deals, I blew a lot of my money. Understand how to break your money up into pieces where you can use it wisely. So I would go blow all of my money on, paying off debt or, buying things. If you could set some aside for taxes, set 30% aside for, marketing expenses, 20% aside for, I can't even think of the word right now, but you start setting this 20% aside just to build up the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you set another 20% aside just for operational costs every single month. And then you take yourself a nice little 10%. If you could build that up and use that money accordingly, you're going to be in such a better position than most wholesalers are in. That's the biggest mistake I made. And ever since I started organizing my money that way, I'm not the richest person in the world. It allows me a lot more freedom to build my company to then get to that point where we want to get to.
100%. Yeah, just such better security too. It gives you the ability to scale, like having that stuff, like knowing that's all taken care of. And I think that's the best way to think about it too, is like, breaking off in pieces. And I'll be like, it's not X amount, it's the X percent. And it's, I love that advice, man. That's great.
Yeah, 100%. And start a real estate fund for yourself too, man. That's what we started doing. I think in the beginning of this year, man, start a real estate fund. If you could put, 5% of all your assignment fees into a real estate fund so you can start buying properties with that stuff, man. It's a big jump.
I like that. That's huge, man. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. You provided a bunch of value, like always, man. I definitely recommend everybody goes and follows you. What's the best way for people to connect with you on social media or online?
Best one is going to be Instagram, man, at official Rob Ortiz. I'd say Robert Ortiz on Facebook, but I mean, there's a bunch of them. So official Rob Ortiz on Instagram, man. I post there every day. Always on there communicating and helping people out, man. So yeah, anybody ever wants to role play, anybody ever wants to learn how to have like a solid process to talk with sellers, I'm always open to it. So
I love that, man. If anyone wants to do deals with you too, are you just in South Florida? You guys do deals outside of that? Any other markets?
So we do all of Florida, right? So from Jacksonville down to Miami. So we have that. That's where our strongest cash buyers list is. We have a little bit of North Carolina, a little bit of Ohio, but we're not really doing deals out there anymore. We're just focusing on straight Florida, man.
That's great, man. Awesome, brother. Well, hey, thanks again for coming on. Thanks again for everybody who came on and checked this out. The podcast will be up soon. Appreciate everyone who's gone and liked it and helped the launch be successful. We're already showing up in all the main stores. So if you guys could do me a favor, if you could drop a review, it helps us rank and reach more people. But I appreciate you guys. If you guys have any other questions, make sure to drop them in the comments or reach out. We're always here to help.